Well, we don't need to even talk about that because the Dow's following it in step, as is the S&P 500. So everything's down, down, down.
Our
Okay.
email's going down. Fun fact about our email client, it's terrible. It has no spam filter. So if you're going to use our email ever, you'd spend a minimum 1 hour every day just clearing out emails.
What I was just doing.
It's cute when I click on my spam folder and it's all, congrats, no spam here. I'm like, yeah, because you let everything through.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't know if it was just me. Doing, like, spam.
You know, I think you should have to pay to send emails.
You would pay $5 per account per month?
Some small amount.
Like a stamp?
Tenth of
like
a
a
percent.
modern day stamp?
Exactly.
You
Yes.
need blockchain to just get it all
Well,
dialed
just to
in.
disincentivize people who aren't actually going to do anything with it. And, you know, I don't know. Let's tighten this thing up, dude. Actually, emails should just go
I got
away.
you for spam.
For spam, too.
I
It's like
see.
you shouldn't be able to just blast 3,000, like millions of emails. It's like you got to pay for that, you know, because that's when the economies of scale kick in, you know. 5 cents or a quarter per email for them. It's going to cost them millions of dollars to do nothing. Anyway, welcome to the morning. Got a couple new coffees.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. You want to hit this, Jared?
With our friends, with
Yeah.
Angel and Pedro coming together to make a best friends club, tasty bean. Yeah, come get some. Those two gentlemen live next to each other on the side of a hill. And on that hill, we've been up and at 'em. And our friend Michael Weiser actually made a really special video about it. And I believe the link will be in the description. I think
Where are we? Put us in the context of the world. Where are we in the world?
we're in Honduras. Well, there's like right now, Honduras is the only place we're really getting deep with Best Friends Club coffee. We are in right off in the mountains of Santa Barbara. And instead, I think of me talking about it more, I think you should go click on that link because Weiser put together, I think, one of the most beautiful videos we've ever had
really
for
good.
our company. And put a description together of his first time going up that hill. And the reason I say up that hill is because it truly is like a fairly vertical, probably half-mile hike at least, if not more. And it's pretty strenuous for everybody, actually. So if you're not prepared for it, everybody thinks like, oh yeah, I've been on a hike. And it's true that most people have been on a hike that's uphill, but this is like trailblazing almost straight up the side of a very, very steep incline. And so it can catch a lot of people off guard, and you're going to elevation as well. So
You're going to
Elevation.
elevation.
You're going to elevation.
So you should check that out. Watch that video because it is a very connective, and I think video, and it shares. I think it shares the essence of our mission and some of the things we'd like to do and connect people, and really, really well. So shout out to Weiser and shout out to you when you're done. And you can tell me about the tears. You can write in and say, you know what I did? I shedded a couple tears on that.
One
That
tier.
hill.
Uh-huh.
Singular tier.
One tier hill.
Of an angel. One of those.
SCA, Saturday, April 26th, 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Green buying panel. I'm going to be moderating. Cafe Imports is throwing it. It's going to be awesome. We got 100 guest capacity. So if you're at SCA in Houston, Texas, and you're looking for a place to have a little bit of a breakfast, maybe some breakfast tacos, maybe some coffee service, and listen to a whole panel talk about green buying, how, you know, it's supply chain A to Z, and it's a really interesting time to talk about these things. And it's something that not a lot of people talk about. There's a ton of information out there about barista focused things. There's a ton of stuff about roasting. There's less so. It's a little harder to find information about green buying. So it should be really interesting to talk to a group of people who are doing this for a living. We're going to be there. You know, click on the link. It's not the worst way you could spend 2 hours of your SCA experience. You've been on the trade show floor, all right? You've seen it. Yes, there's all kinds of cool stuff, but we all know it's 80-20. 20% of the stuff you want to see, 80% of stuff, take it or leave it. Come have breakfast with us, all right? Come have breakfast.
Give me the damn veggies.
Give me the veggies.
That's a rock. That's a rock.
Okay, we got notes from outside the world. This is from Adam Broussard. What's up, Adam?
I know Adam Broussard. Oh, yeah.
We know Adam.
Yeah.
So he writes in about his experience with Las Vegas. So this is in relation to Jared's past Vegas trip and Vegas riffage. Vegas is a big licensing deal. He says, yo, I just listened to the podcast where y'all were talking about Vegas and how it feels like a museum version of the actual restaurant. I helped open up District Donuts location inside that food court at the Cosmo.
I ate a donut from there,
Right.
BT Dubs.
Thank you for the donut, Adam. Thought I could attempt to give some context, although I might have a hard time putting it into words. We're a NOLA company that were approached by the Cosmo to put a spot in their food court alongside Hattie B's and all the rest. The experience was super weird. It was a couple weeks of training and good times with scheduled quarterly checkups later on that has slowly morphed into mostly remote collaboration. Maybe one of our company owners goes every once in a while still. ? All of the staff are hotel staff. I believe they applied to work in their respective stores, but ultimately they're all hotel staff. They have to go through baseline cosmopolitan training before even getting trained at a store location. And it was super hard to instill our culture in the staff working the district booth. We used to be able to go out there and do check-ins to help maintain the quote unquote district culture, but it was really more of a licensing deal. At some point, the ownership of the hotel has changed, and now it's even more strained. We basically manage everything remotely, and manage is even too strong a word. They basically use our recipes. I'm not 100% sure if every store has the same licensing situation that we have, but I imagine it's similar. All the baked goods and food prep happened at entirely different floors. Cold brew cakes were like 3 floors down. The whole thing felt chaotic. I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading this in public. Crazy thing, they use as much coffee per week as our entire NOLA footprint. That totally makes sense to me. It actually seems light. Sending them like 200 pounds of coffee a week. Our NOLA stores full size and a mini go through a bit less than that a week. Whole thing, and it was interesting, and it was fun hearing Jared's perspective on it. Best! He said best! He
Gotta
did
do
the
it.
email thing. Dude, what up, Adam? Best! Yeah, all that completely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Right? That totally checks out.
Yeah, I think like casinos, airports, hotels, like that's probably the type of deal most people are looking at, because those places, sometimes they've got union agreements. Sometimes, oftentimes they have union agreements, and oftentimes as the larger entity, they can control, or they want to control, a lot of the operations. So that's what I've heard from other people as well, that it turns into more of like a licensing, faux licensing situation.
Trying to remember, I think it was Heather Perry at Coffee Clutch, because they had a location in the airport, and she had some specific hiring things where they're all, airport. I don't know if it was background checks or if they all work for a bigger union.
I think they work for the airports a lot of the time.
And then you can't just hire, yeah.
They
You're
hire
from that
for
pool.
you
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you can still do training, but it still is that team.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't work for you. They work for the airport.
Interesting to see where all these things go,
Yeah, you're not really, so much of culture, I feel like, is built through the hiring process, right? And what questions you ask, how do you get to know people, how you choose people that you think will really live out the values of your culture. And it's, that's going to be one of the things that you potentially miss in those types of stores.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Have you been to one of the Verve Capital One cafes yet?
Negative.
No, it's just funny because I was in the Westfield Mall in San Jose over the weekend.
Yeah.
And my daughter was like, oh, look, a Verve.
Yeah.
And it was like a Capital One.
Yeah.
We walked past it. We did not go in.
Mm.
That's the one I've seen too. And I also didn't go in, but it looked nice. And it was
Does
hard.
look nice.
It was hard to tell from at first glance that it was a bank.
Yeah,
also,
they just have like some stuff in the corner and somebody, like one
ATMs
person to like help. But Capital One's really leaning into that. Yeah, I mean, most banks, you see banks closing down branches. Like, banks don't need the physical space. So much of it is moved online that banks don't really need the physical space that they've built out over the last couple of decades.
Right.
So I think it makes sense to see what Capital One's doing to like bring people in to like interact with their brand.
Right.
In like a more relaxed environment.
What do you think the value of that is? Like, if people don't really need the in-person face-to-face, is it just brand familiarity? Because if you're getting a loan or...
I think they're trying to bring in young people.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a big thing when you get deeper into like bigger companies is like, what's the average age of your demographic?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like the example I always like is like the average age of like Major League Baseball, I don't know, customer guest is like 60 years old. And the average age of like an NBA fan is like 35 to 40 years old. And so the idea is you're being able to monetize those people like over the lifespan of their life. in
Right.
some way, right? And so Major League Baseball, it's kind of crass, but it's like a lot of their customers are going to be,
You could say it.
guys like,
Baseball's dying, everyone.
yeah, a lot of their guests, right? It's like, yeah, like those people aren't not
Just
gonna
say
be
it!
here in 20 years, you know. So it's like really, it's the younger, right? The younger that your guests are, and the younger that your main demographic are, you're gonna be able to monetize them longer over their lifespan. So I think that's what Capital One's doing, is trying to decrease the age of their demographic.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. If you offer them something that they like and they're into, I mean, what, millennials and especially coffee are always kind of a joke. And then that's what older people would say, right? So, I mean, somebody who's been in that, what is it? It's Capital One? I don't know who owns Capital One. That's not a Buffett one, is it?
It's a public company.
Yeah, it's okay. So it's, but you picture that, it's like, give them something that they're into. Give them some nice coffee, specialty coffee, no doubt. You know, get a vibe.
They're nice designed, like,
yeah.
you know, I know very
And
well
if it's
designed
public,
stores.
that's another thing. Like younger generations are more inclined to try to go more local, right? A lot of times. So it's like, what's an attractive thing to get us into a bigger bank?
And
more
for
money
sure,
in the
like when we walked past, everyone, I don't know, 90% of the people in there were like under 40 years old.
Mm.
So it's like they seem to be hitting the demographic that they're looking for.
I wonder what what the conversion rate is on people going in, getting coffee, and then also deciding to open up accounts and do
yeah.
business
Yeah.
with them. Because it seems like they're already, I don't know what their, stocks look like, but they seem like a successful company.
Yeah.
And it seems, what you're talking about age, like totally makes sense. But for like when I looked at it, my take on it was, okay, people who are in the mall are going to come in here, get coffee, not really know that it's even a bank at all, and just buy a latte and leave instead of going across the street to Santana Row and getting it at Blue Bottle or something.
Yeah.
That was just my take. I'm wondering what the conversion is.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, for sure, it's a marketing thing, and right. So it's like what kind of conversion are they getting, or brand awareness are they getting with like a younger demographic versus other marketing strategies, you know?
Right. So maybe it's just in 3 to 5 years, you've got this subconsciously deep-seated idea that, oh, Capital One's that's like the bank for me.
Yeah,
they're like a cool
I mean, I
big
think they're
bank,
doing that.
right?
I see them all over the place, and there's always like young people in there, and it's like that resonates with me.
This is my spot.
That's what somebody's thinking over there.
Yeah.
They're doing a heavy TV push. Their ads are all over the place on TV right now.
Oh yeah, so they always have
Huge
the
ones.
famous people.
Yeah,
in
they got
there.
the Jeter and
People watch TV. What?
Jennifer Garner was on for a
Yeah,
long
there's a
time.
bunch of famous like they've done a pretty significant push with their ad campaign in general, actually. So, I mean, what does that mean? I mean, it probably means they want the market share. And
Right, when you think
people are
about
going to look for
banks,
banks,
right?
right?
It's
It's like
like-
you got your BOAs, your Wells Fargos, and your
I mean, for sure, Capital One, if you're just gonna ask me, feels like
exactly.
a bank for younger people
younger
versus
people.
like Chase, JP Morgan Chase.
Yeah,
JP
exactly.
Morgan sounds like the
Bank
oldest
of America.
oldest thing ever.
It is.
Bank of America to me feels very 80s. I don't know if that's because that's where my mom used to bank when I
Citibank,
was a kid.
you
It
know,
just
it's like-
feels. I can't even believe banks exist at all. Also, just like email, we don't need this shit. Okay, let's go, dude. Don't need to go get a latte at the bank, but good for them. That's awesome. That's cool. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be bad. Just get.
Again, similar like kind of licensing situation, right?
Yeah, that's what made me think about it. It's like, oh, because I wasn't sure how the relationship worked at first, and then I know, oh, it's a licensing agreement. Yeah, they're not. The staff's not hired by Verve or
No, it's
but they use their
hired
coffee, their
by
recipes, and
the staff is hired by the what's like the Bon Appetit
Tradecraft?
Tradecraft is the one that staffs the stores.
yeah. So that, I mean, it's awesome. If seemingly awesome, right? I'm sure that was an interesting thing.
Create
to walk
space,
down.
a space to hang, a space to
Right. Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Okay, if I was going to go into a bank, it would be better if it felt like that than going into any other random bank that just feels like you're not supposed to be there.
I mean, I think it's the flip, right? Though, but it's like, oh, I'm going into this coffee shop that I can look up and see as a cool brand, and then, oh shit, it's a bank too. That's I think really the move. They're like,
the
get you
Capital
in there for
One
the
stuff's
coffee
almost-
first, and then it's like, oh well, if this company is cool and they're attached to this other company in a bank, I could probably use them because they're doing something no other bank's doing.
They get me, man. They really get me.
They get good stuff.
I like my
you know?
$13 latte. Okay, they understand.
I thought it was actually cheaper to get coffee at those Capital Ones.
I have no idea.
They've actually subsidized the pricing. I think it's cheaper than most places.
And if you have a Capital One card,
Discount.
You get a discount.
Shh, I'm signing up right now, dude.
I know. We're getting some Capital One.
Yeah.
Can I get some Capital One kickbacks?
I got no loyalty to my bank. I don't care.
Right?
Royalties
What
got
have they done for
royalties.
you
They
lately?
They haven't done shit for me. Nothing.
Yeah.
Banks? Yeah.
Not a
At
damn
least Capital
thing.
One will get you a discount on your coffee.
That's what's up, dude. That's what I need. Maybe a little gift card.
They even rate their own rewards. I just left their website, but they rate their own. I was on the whole thing. It was like on the left side. It's like the student benefits are only fair, but some of the other ones are excellent to good. It's like on their own
Ooh.
website. Yeah.
Oh, this guy ranked every Capital One credit card. Look at him. He's so handsome too.
Very handsome.
Jeez, they really know what's happening. Oh, this is fucking killer. We should go on a field trip.
Oh, to Capital One.
Capital One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the closest one in the mall?
gotta be.
In San Jose.
Yeah, I stumbled in by accident. I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
cute. Cute. It's got all the makings of a coffee shop, you know? Good design, good design, good design.
Yeah.
People behind the counter.
Lots of
Good,
glass.
great, grand, awesome.
Yeah. In our big ideas bucket, we have this conversation that we were kind of kicking around in the office the other day. Wiser just notes tariffs. How effed are we? And I think it'd be fun to have just a little bit of conversation about what the current tariffs looking like and what they mean for companies like ours.
Right.
Especially, this feels a lot like the conversation we had a few weeks ago when the coffee market was raging, which is still high, but it's come down a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So what's
yeah.
the coffee market update, just to get settled in on that?
Yeah, the coffee market update is really interesting because I think there's a couple components that go into the C market price at any given time, and one is like kind of the fundamental supply demand situation of coffee supply versus coffee demand in the world, and then you have this little. It's either like some amount up or some amount down, which is kind of like financial market speculation that
Okay.
often I'll talk about. It kind of drives extremes in either directions.
This is people trading futures?
Yeah, people trading financial institutions or hedge funds or investment funds that are trading futures and pushing. They're often trend following, so it's like when the trend is up and they feel like the fundamentals could be pushing the price higher, then oftentimes a lot of financials will hop in to ride that trend, and by doing that, they're kind of exacerbating and pushing it higher than the fundamentals might take it. And I think that's what you've seen with the coffee market going above, up to like near 450 was like. Some of that financial investment coming in and pushing it higher than maybe where the fundamentals are. And so now you're kind of seeing, right, nothing's really changed. I mean, maybe Brazil's getting a little bit better rain, but nothing's really changed in the supply demand or the supply outlook anyway. But I think you're seeing it in the stock market for sure. A lot of like risk off with the tariff as people try to evaluate how tariffs are going to impact companies around the world. And so you're seeing that often drives a lot of risk off. And whenever, speaking from experience, like having been part of a financial institution, it's like when we're in a risk off mode, it's like we're selling all the stuff that was a bit speculative.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, cool, we're going to get rid of our long coffee position. And so now you're seeing when there's a big risk off mode that, the futures are coming down because companies that did have long positions in the C market are selling them, and that's kind of bringing it down, closer to where maybe the fundamental price should be
Based on supply and demand.
based on supply and demand. And so I think that's a big part of it. And then again, if the tariffs do create like a more recessionary situation in the U.S. and the world, then there are always people who believe that would temper, I guess, demand, even though, coffee is not often something people give up even in times of recession. The idea is just there will be some like tempering of demand. So I think that's
Right.
bringing things in with the C market maybe around like 350 today.
Okay. So it's still high.
High historically,
Historically.
but
Not insane.
But from 450,
Yeah.
you've definitely seen some price come down in the last month or so.
So that feels like a win. That part of it felt like a win. And then
The market coming down, yeah.
the tariffs. What is 10%? Like,
Yeah, and I mean,
A lot of places.
again, I don't want to sit here from like a coffee roasting position and say prices coming down are a win. It's like I just think a more stable coffee market over time, whatever the long-term average is, just helps reduce the swings that are going to happen by
Absolutely.
a super low price or a super high price.
Like managing
When I-
expectations.
well, when I
right?
say a win, I'm saying 350 is better than 450 in the long term. If we're talking about like a stable C market
Sure.
price, it's maybe not nothing is fixed,
Right. I mean,
necessarily. Like there's, like you said, there's no solution happening right now because supply and demand, like the frost and the rust and all that stuff,
Yeah.
is there. The drop is simply from people who are investing in or betting on futures, being
Right.
like, this feels kind of
Right.
sketchy right now. I got to get rid of this shit.
it's a win in that I feel like less of the financial premium has come off, right? If that's
right,
kind of what you're
yeah,
saying.
exactly.
Yeah, because my concern is just like coffee at 450. It's like that, that'll incentivize a lot more coffee growing around the world, and then 3 years from now, is there like an oversupply, and then prices are back down to like an unsustainable level, and that's what is not awesome to
That's the
see are the
scarier
huge
part.
swings and volatility
like
of
that.
the price.
Right. So then moving into tariff land.
Yeah, totally. So down at 350, but actually back up
Yeah,
10%
that's a surprise.
higher. Yeah, I mean, tariffs, right? Tariffs are just
What
just,
tariffs are going to affect like what we're doing on the green buying side of
yeah,
things?
totally. So
Colombia for sure,
the
right?
president put a minimum 10% tariff on all imports as of now, right?
As of now.
As of now, there is a minimum 10% tariff that'll start this week on all goods being imported into the U.S., and so coffee being a part of that. So I mean, it's essentially like a 10% tax or a 10% cost that wasn't there before on the products that we're buying that will be there now for, I don't know,
It's April
however long you
7th,
believe tariffs will be in place.
2025.
Cafe Imports was on CNN, I think, this morning or last night talking about it, actually.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah?
Mhm. Maybe we can find the link, whether or not that's true. But yeah, they were on CNN talking.
Right,
awesome.
and everybody has different opinions of how long will the tariffs be permanent? How long will they last? How short will they last? Are they just a negotiating tool? Like, yeah, I say
There's a lot of historical evidence that they don't work very well, according to what I've seen. In the way that we're doing it, I should say.
right, and just blanket
Right.
blanket
I think I've
tariffs across. Yeah, but I mean that's how it's going to impact us, right? Is like the importers will be the ones that are responsible for collecting the money.
Right.
So it'll be, from some of the importers I've talked to, it'll essentially be like a line item on our invoice that is like a tariff fee that will be 10% of our cost, like 10% additional cost for what we're buying.
I think that's cool and smart that it's a line item just because it can come and go. And in my opinion,
Right.
I was thinking about that I was just trying to mentally brainstorm things that might happen when people in the world might have to raise prices. And it's like, it could be good to have something that's temporary that you don't have to hold on to, and trying to think about doing, business that's good for culture as well as sustainable. And it's like, I was thinking how many people might put something on there that's like, hey, this is a temporary tariff fee, that we're charging, and
Yeah.
we're going to actually pull it off, and we're not just going to integrate that price raise
Just
forever.
raise the price and
Yeah.
leave it.
Well,
It's
I
like
mean,
an egg
'cause a lot of
surcharge
people
in
might.
the cafes.
Yeah, but I'm like, how many people would have how many business owners would have the decency to actually own that portion of it and be like, okay, cool. Now that it's gone, I'm not going to keep it on here to like squeeze that extra money out of people that they're used to paying now. And anyway, I thought it would be a very cool concept to have somebody do that and then actually pull it and to like show that they're that kind of respectable business. Because I imagine it would be a challenging thing for some businesses to not just be like, well, they're used to it now, so I'm just going to keep the pricing as it is and pull that line item and make more money, And I'd say that's a big, big reason that we're in a lot of the issues that we have in the world anyway. So
I mean, there's risks to that too. It's like, basic economics 101 is like higher prices, lower demand to some extent. You could argue how
Like where the ceiling
now we're
is.
getting into economics of like
Sure.
how elastic the price of coffee is,
Yeah, well,
right? Something that's
you
more
really don't
elastic is as the price goes up a lot, the demand goes down a lot, and so maybe coffee is a little more inelastic or less elastic than
To a point.
than some other products. But it's like I still believe there's some effect, and so it's like that's why as a business owner, it's like I never want to raise prices. It's more I feel like just what we have to do to maintain the business model that's sustainable,
Right.
for our business.
Absolutely. Freaking super cool. I saw our friends at Captain and Stoker, Chelsea, she posted a picture, and if you've seen the last Harry Potter where they show him in the train station, he's just like that little baby underneath the thing. She's like,
spoiler.
yeah,
Spoiler.
Well, yeah, spoiler in case you guys have never done it before.
Spoiler alert, it's 30 years older.
Yeah,
when did that movie
it's
come out?
been a minute.
2012. I don't know.
But she was like, it was like some meme of her, and it's like Harry Potter's happy, and then owning a business, and it's like how it feels to own a business. And it's him like,
So vulnerable.
yeah, dude. So just raw and pained. Just like all these surprises.
Hey, you get to pick your poison. You know
Yeah,
what I
dude.
mean? You could be along for the ride.
It's not a Horcrux. That's a fact.
Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 2
Don't split your soul
2011.
into 7 parts. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, not 7. At least not 7. Minimum.
Good Lord. 7. That little freaking. I never liked that scene.
snap.
It was just.
Yeah.
It's just too fetal for me. You know, it just
Yeah,
looks like
yeah.
a dead baby. And
Yeah.
I get that's what it's supposed to look like, but it just grosses me out.
Yeah.
Oh,
The little part of his
That's basically what it
soul.
was. Yeah,
you
like
know?
the unfortunate part that never learned to live.
little part of his soul.
And it hurts not to live.
well, neither can live while the other survives.
There you
Found
go.
out, dude.
Dang, that's the difference between living and surviving.
But you know what? Did you read the books? Did you
No.
do them? Oh, okay.
I
It's a very
probably
different
will-
experience.
I probably
just
will
listened
someday.
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you just listen through, like going through that scene in the book is similar for sure, but there's a lot more to it, and it's pretty interesting.
And I'm trying to subliminally get Eleanor into Harry Potter, so that she's
is that
like
what you're-
asking Baka for
Oh,
when she
I'm
gets older. that she'll be like,
free.
She's gonna love Harry Potter, I'm sure.
Oh, my girls love it.
Sure.
And like I said, we just
I
finished.
mean, they're great movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you hadn't even
even if you haven't read
books.
the book, like I've never read the books, was kind of mildly interested. Jenny had read the book, so she knew what it was. But I was like, I don't care. And the first movie really sucks.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
very
think I
long,
saw
too.
that at some point. I'm just like, this is kind of like a B movie, and I don't know these people.
classic, man.
It is now. It's better in the context of you knowing all the characters
The
and their
franchise,
journey
yeah.
than when you just see it for the first time. For someone who is unaffiliated with the world, like for me, I'm unaffiliated with the world. Never read the books. The first movie is, it's kind of whack. It's by
Yeah, I mean, you can
They
see
didn't have
that
the
they
budgeting,
didn't put the budget
right,
right.
yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like you see with often like some movies that are adopted from novels into movies,
Totally.
right? That they kind of tip their feet in the water a
Yep.
little bit to
and
see
then they
how
get
it
it,
goes.
and they're like, okay,
then-
let's put some money into
But
this.
I think from the perspective of cool, once I've seen all the other movies, and then you go back and watch the first, you're emotionally invested in the characters.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
understand the story a little more, and that makes it more exciting. So for me, watching the first one now, even though it pales in comparison to production budget of the other movies, it's still cooler than the first time I saw it.
I wonder what studios maybe passed up on their opportunity with that franchise.
I mean,
early on.
probably a lot of them.
I think Disney
Did they?
had, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
I mean, in the same way, it's like how many times did the books get rejected by publishers? It was a
Yeah,
lot,
right?
yeah.
A lot.
I would think Warner Brothers is going to be your first choice of
Probably
studio
not,
to
yeah.
go to.
like Bugs Bunny.
You know what they didn't have in Diagon Alley? Tariffs.
Diagon Alley.
Yeah, dude.
Diagon.
Nice. Connect the dots.
Let's all go back to Diagon Alley.
So what is?
Diagonally. Oh no.
What are the financial implications? How does that 10%? What does that 10% turn into for a company like ours?
No more phoenix feather in the wand.
It's a hollow wand. It's just for show.
No,
it
just
doesn't
not
actually.
phoenix feather. You can just get some other cores.
Oh, dragon heartstring.
Dragon hot
You
string.
gotta going down. Wands cost the extra galleon, dude. Is that what you're saying?
You're like, damn, bro.
require your
Chuck pulled up with a fucking new phoenix feather one. And I heard it fucking chose him.
Dude, tariffs must be done.
Someone's making some quiche, dude. You get a licensing deal with Capital One, pulling up with that phoenix feather.
Oh, shit.
Espresso Patronum.
Expensive espresso petroleums.
But yeah, what does that mean for a company like ours financially? How does that, what does that 10% turn into? How much more money are we going to spend?
Yeah, totally.
Ballpark me, bro.
Yeah,
Enough.
I mean, right. It was interesting. I was talking to a reporter from like USA Today on Friday.
You damn right you were.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've kind of over the years been like a resource for him on kind of how like different economic situations affect small businesses. And that was one of the things he was interested to know is, and you break it down, it's like what we roast like 300,000 pounds of coffee a year. If we're paying like $5 a pound kind of across everything, that's what, $1.5 million. And so, I mean, you really are paying like 10% more than that. So yeah, what is it, $150,000 cost that like wasn't here yesterday that is here today. And again, there's different opinions on how long it will be here, but it's at the minimum, there's an uncertainty of the rule now is that we're going to have this $150,000, annualized $150,000 cost until we don't. And so even if we believe it could be going away in 3, 6, 9 months or a year,
we don't know.
And that uncertainty, I think, is what's difficult for me and like just I think business owners in general is when there's uncertainty, it's really hard to act like decisively in a certain way. Yeah,
because I remember when there were allegedly going to be 25% tariffs on everything coming out of Colombia.
Yeah.
Was it?
Or 50?
Was it 50?
Yeah, maybe it was
there
25.
Some big numbers thrown around.
It was bigger than 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just like, man, I got to get out of this so I can sleep at night. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Right. It's just that up and down, just that news driven, those news driven, I don't know, laws or news driven items that just come 1 minute or gone the next. Like it's really hard. It creates a lot of uncertainty and stress around how to operate your business because they're changing the rules like as you're playing the game. There's not like, hey, in 6 months from now, here's what you can expect.
That's what sucks.
So that companies can try to like adjust or make any adjustments that might help them, deal with the new rules of the game. But it's like, I don't necessarily think that's how we should run our economy or our business, where someone's changing the rules of the game, in real time. Like if we were going to our cafe and changing the rules, of what quality is for our baristas, like on Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we go in on Wednesday and change them to something else, and then Friday we change it to something else.
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
just doesn't work.
Like how does that feel? Like how do they do their job to the best of the ability when the rules are always changing it? It's unfortunate.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, cool. So, and we've already made plans, especially in a business like ours, right?
Right.
You're
Yeah,
like,
we're making
committed to
like
things.
capital investments, building new cafes, making investments in bigger projects. Like those span months and years. And, I feel for somebody who is maybe in that spot where they've committed a lot of capital to doing something. And now, based on the certain rules of the game, and now the rules change and it could put you in a more difficult situation. And that's where for me, and I think a lot of businesses and other people I talk to are like, they pull back on the risk. It's the whole idea of like what you're seeing in the stock market is everybody's pulling back on risk because they don't know, like the rules of the game that have been in place for years and decades are changing, and they don't know what impact that's going to have on themselves and everyone else.
I mean, the build out costs, there's a lot of materials coming from and my buddy, our buddy Eric, who works with Mystery Spot, right? A lot of his stuff being imported. He's like, my prices are about to just go crazy in terms of what I'm trying to bring in, because buying a lot of things that are attached to China, et cetera, all these places that the tariffs are far more than 10. Some are up like 40+%.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking also though, what if like people had just signed a lease and they're about to go into building and all the building costs go up 20 to 40% in some regard. And a lot of the materials, all of a sudden, just like that, you think you have a budget committed to whatever.
Right.
And now it's up 30, 40% from what you planned for. And imagine if you had an SBA loan. I don't even know how that works Interestingly enough, that's a really thing.
Because you can't
You're like,
move the budget of the
exactly.
loan. You're locked in. You're like,
Yeah.
this is what
So
you have
now what?
allocated for materials.
Which I have no idea how there's got to be some sort of X factor to that.
You
Maybe
probably
not.
just have to scale back your build out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
They're probably
like,
not going to give you any love.
Be?
They're like, you can only
Right.
spend 150
Well,
on
it's
this.
already been
Just
like
spend
up
150.
the chain and the ladders, and everybody's agreed upon this. We don't agree on different.
You have some empty ass cafe with nothing.
Anyway, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not.
No-
Hopefully, you're not
no
one of those, and I'm not
seats,
freaking you out right now.
No bar, no
Yeah.
espresso machine, no seats.
Anyway, that's just
Yeah, and
not just green coffee.
no, right? It's I mean, for sure, like people like I would think like espresso machine.
Yeah, because a lot of
Makers.
components in those machines are from other places, right?
For sure.
Or any accessory.
Medical devices.
Any
Any
accessory.
literal
Exactly.
accessory in your cafe, from pitchers to whatever.
Yeah, the people like Fellow, like La Marzocco,
yeah, that stuff's not made in
Malkonig.
the U.S., dude.
No.
No,
Maybe
I mean,
assembled.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
And-
Yeah, some of it's. Yeah,
Maybe.
totally.
Yeah.
yeah, but still parts are coming from all over the world.
Right.
Yeah, this is a big effect.
Yeah. And then, I don't know.
Yeah. So again, how do you?
I think Reiki healing is something we should all get into. It's just an energy transfer.
Like get the chakra activated.
Yeah, I mean, and you can feel it when it's going well for sure. These are
And
facts.
it doesn't have to be imported. From
No, it
anywhere.
just has to meet
You don't have to pay tariffs.
It's a
on your
1-to-1.
chakra
And,
healing.
yeah, if we got enough people going at the same time, you know?
Put a little place in the airport, duty-free Reiki
Duty
healing.
free Reiki, dude.
We can activate you.
Yeah, dude, DFR.
Yeah, because and what you're saying, Chuck, is that one part that they're annoying, and then the second part is that it feels like it's driven off of almost this clickbait news cycle where 20 years ago we wouldn't have this kind of up and down flexing. Right? It's almost like we wouldn't even know about it. You know, there wouldn't be this platform. I mean, I guess you could say the news, but it seems unlikely.
The news was slower, though. You had to wait till 8, right?
Right, that someone's going to be, we're doing
5.
this. Psych, we're doing that. Psych, we're doing this.
Yeah, social media posts this, social media posts
Right.
that. But there's that aspect to it as well. But one of the things I was talking to the reporter about was just like, he was talking to a number of different businesses, and would they bring like investment? He was talking to some small businesses like, hey, would they like invest more in the U.S. And bring it back? And I was talking with him. It's like, dude, it's like our product, like our raw materials can't come from the U.S.
Right.
I understand there's a little bit of coffee in Hawaii and
Not in
a
any
farm in
meaningful
Santa Barbara,
way,
but
dude.
in the
And
scale
the farm in Santa
of
Barbara.
the scale of what the coffee industry is and the amount of coffee that's imported into the U.S., it's like there's no way that can be produced in the U.S. And so again, that's one of my frustrations, is that this policy didn't seem to be well thought out in terms of, if the intent is to bring more, I don't know, creation and manufacturing things back
jobs
to the United States, it's like our product can't be,
Right.
our inputs can't come from the United States. Like, just
Right.
it's like a fact of nature.
Yeah.
Not without a lot of money. Like
Right,
we were
yeah,
ripping
we were
on
talking
it. We were
about
ripping
it,
in
yeah.
the
Like,
office.
yeah,
It's
new
like,
business.
well, so
The
somebody has to
greenhouses.
have it. Right.
corn has a.
Mais.
Now we're talking Jerry's language.
Yeah, we are, dude. Finally, we're getting a tortilla work.
Huge government subsidies in corn.
Yeah.
Tons of cornfields.
Didn't know that.
Corn and everything.
Yeah.
So this is my idea. It's super simple and very affordable. It's easy.
Triple down on corn.
No, we just take out the corn,
Yeah.
put in coffee, create greenhouses.
Oh, this is what we talked about at
that
the
just
La Marzocco out of the box.
Essentially, yeah.
You'd
We
have
already
to-
had this
in,
idea.
in Melbourne.
Use the
Mimic
technology.
the effects of high elevation.
There
and
you go.
We copy the climate
Yeah.
from Santa Barbara Mountain, right where
Just in
Right where our boys
greenhouses
lived in-
all across the United States.
Yeah, it's cheap and easy. And then we do grow coffee here.
Yeah.
And
Problem solved.
and then you switch the subsidies from corn to coffee because that's the only way it's going to be affordable because
Yeah.
there's no way we're doing it here without it
Right. Yeah. Right.
unless you want to pay $20
Pay, like,
for a
wine,
latte or something.
Wine prices.
Yeah, we pay wine prices, and then it elevates the industry. U.S.
Yeah.
grown coffee. It'll probably only take 100 years. So
This is perfect though. If you ever played Sim City and you got to that level where you got to put those cool dome things, I forgot what it was. And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, what were those called?
Biodome.
Is that
With Polly Shore.
yeah, dude. Mini tribal. The That's a great movie. It
That's just
probably still
amazing.
holds
You
up.
still have a quote from Biodome.
Yeah,
I know you
dude.
got
I
a
watched
quote
that
from
movie a
everything.
fair amount when I was younger. Absolutely. Squirrely. Anyway,
So that seems possible. So
yeah, just do that.
so just do
and
that.
And then just to say it, Chris and I talked about that in Melbourne in the 2009,
8, 9,
15.
10, no. Oh, it was
16?
after we were open, so it must have been
16 or 17. Yeah. But that was our pitch.
Tiered greenhouses in
That
the
was our.
sky.
They're like, look to the future, man, and just tell us what you see.
Yeah,
Like,
tiered.
Do the-
killing corn,
or
building-
if we're going to space,
oh fuck space, dude.
no, if we're going to space anyway, it's just
Yeah, free real estate.
yeah. And are there tariffs from Mars or whatever? We could just greenhouse the shit out of Mars. All these things seem really simple to me. I don't know. It's a
big things
no-brainer.
called in SimCity. Do you remember?
I've never
they're
played
like the pinnacle.
SimCity. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really bad with that stuff.
But yeah, again, it's like
Thing.
So we have to budget for this essentially $150,000 extra hit that's going to happen no matter what. Because like you said, we don't know if it rolls off in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. We don't know if it goes up or down. It just
Right.
is what it is right now.
right, it's the rule of the game right now.
And that's just what it is. So it's even if you can weather that storm financially, which that's not a small amount of money for a low margin business that's like heavily driven off a cash position, the uncertainty is equally as obnoxious to
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just go again, bigger picture. When the government starts interfering in the economies of the U.S. and the world, it puts in motion decisions that can't always be changed, as quickly as like a social media post. And it's like, it would be like, my fear is that it puts in motion a situation where businesses stop spending as much as they were going to, and consumers stop spending as much as they were going to. And then it puts in motion this movement toward a recession. And it's almost, we've self-created a recession where then everyone does feel the pain of that, and people lose their jobs and the unemployment rate goes up. And again, it takes time to like reverse, to like try to support all these things. And it's like, so I mean, that's my fear as well, is that it's putting in motion. It's almost becomes like a self-fulfilling situation where because then everyone is like so risk off or risk averse, you're like creating the situation that nobody wants.
right. Because because you're really talking about okay, so I'm not an analyst of any of these things, but it feels to me that I understand the intention of these things, but you're really talking about, if you're talking about bringing jobs here or creating jobs here, you're also talking about changing the spending habits and structures of people in this country as a whole.
Right.
You know what I mean? We are so accustomed to getting things whenever we want.
Yeah.
And the quality of those things, for the most part, doesn't really matter to us. And that's just, it feels like a stark difference. We were talking about this in the office.
Yeah.
Than my grandfather's generation, who they had less things. The things they had for a lifetime. And there wasn't this
That
whole
is true.
economy built around, I can get this chintzy thing from Amazon, and if I have it,
or Shein,
if I have it
or
Right.
like Alibaba, like just
Wherever.
all these like discount,
Yeah.
discount.
Timu.
Yep, Temu. Yep.
You can get anything you want. You can keep it for a month. You can throw it away. You can like whatever. And I have my own feelings about that, which I don't love,
Darkos, by the way.
but it's still a habit that a lot of people have. So if we're going to be changing the way people are interacting with their habits and their spending, it's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of effort and energy. And at some point, like, people are going to have to want to, opt into that because they believe in it, I think.
It's really hard to change people's habits. Again, that's like you said, it
right.
takes.
But
it
I think
takes time.
I think it's
Generations.
possible. So here's why I think it's possible. We have to figure out if we want to do it or not. But the biggest thing that I think I've seen in my lifetime in terms of big culture and habit change has been smoking cigarettes. So if I rewind to, I remember growing up, going to restaurants, smoking or non-smoking.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right? So smoking or non-smoking, which like it fucking matters. You're in a
I
restaurant.
mean, you go back to airplanes before that, where there
People
was a
smoking
smoking
on
and
airplanes.
non-section.
Yeah.
There was a smoking
Smoking
and
the tube.
non-smoking
Yeah,
section.
so it's like, and smoking and non-smoking in the 80s was already an evolution from, you just smoke everywhere.
everybody smoked,
right? So
yeah.
if you're in 50s, 60s, people just be smoking.
Yeah.
Right. So now in 2025, it's super rare to see someone with an actual cigarette.
Right.
At least where we live, and most places I go, you can't smoke in restaurants. Most hotels aren't smoking. Maybe if you're in like a Vegas or something, I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
smoke
man, you're
indoors.
ripping in Vegas.
But for the most part, there's been this like cultural and economic push to disincentivize smoking. And like some of it comes from, I'm sure, the insane taxes that are put on
taxes on
cigarettes to just keep people from doing it. But then there's also, and it's hard to know which comes first, but there's also a cultural component to where it's like, you smoke, that's kind of weird, bro. Like, what?
You want to take care of your body?
You're like actually smoking cigarettes. You smell like shit. Nobody wants to kiss you. And I just don't even want you in my car. Like, I'm not giving you a ride. Charles smokes. Like, you're not even getting in here.
Yeah, you make your whole car smell like smoke.
But that's a big cultural change.
Yep.
And so it's like, I think it can be done, but it's not going to be done overnight.
Right.
And,
yeah, that was 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Because the economics of everything are just like a little different. Like, when we made the dial tamper, I was like, it has to be made in the U.S. That's really important to me for it to be made in the U.S. And we're making, admittedly, like small runs of it. When we're talking to Steven at Art Presso about the economics of the thing, it's just, it's a really cool piece, but it's a loss leader in that there's really no margin in it.
Right. You said it's kind of a break even.
It's break even plus, like with the effort that him and I put into designing it, we're probably losing money if we're factoring in our time. You know what I mean? And so you just can't switch everything like that in a nutshell and think people are going to keep their spending habits, or people are just going to start holding on to their money and be like, damn, I can't afford that.
Right.
And so I get it. I get the intention of it. I don't know. I'm riffing now. Anyway. All right. Well, everybody out there, you have your marching orders. You know what you need to do. We're going to start a GoFundMe to raise coffee in the U.S.
Trillions of
Figure it out.
Hey everyone, that's the podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. If you heard something that inspired you, or if you heard something that gave you more questions and answers, send us an email to podcast@catandcloud.com. And if you're looking to know more about us, then head to our website at catandcloud.com, where you can find everything we have to offer. A great place to start would be The Answer, our house coffee that's right for any occasion. Or the Best Friends Blend, a coffee that tastes just as good as the good it does by donating $1 per pound back to our partnering producers. Also, if you're feeling extra friendly, connect with us in the usual places, like YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere that's hip. All right, that's it. Thanks for being awesome, everyone, and we'll be back next week.